So prior to the war, there was a large expectation in the United States and even in Europe that should Russia invade, that the European response would be weak. That the Europeans wouldn't be willing to sacrifice anything economically for the people of Ukraine. And then what we saw after Russia invaded is actually the exact opposite. It was the Europeans pushing Washington, pushing the United States out of its comfort zone, actually beyond where Washington had thought Europe would go. The war caused a tremendous economic hit to Europe. It caused an increase in inflation that was directly due to Vladimir Putin cutting off gas supplies to Europe. I think there was a lot of pessimism about how Europe would respond to this crisis. I think there was a lot of pessimism about the clean energy transition, that Europe would have to just keep its fossil fuel power plants open, expand the use of coal just to sort of survive. And while we've seen some of that, in fact, I think the doom and gloom has been proven incorrect. So when Europe was trying to decouple from Russian energy, it needed to do whatever it took. That meant LNG, that meant extending the life of nuclear power plants, that meant keeping coal-fired power plants going, but it also meant dramatically increasing its use of renewable energy technology and deploying renewables at a much faster clip. And that's been a key part of Europe's strategy to decouple from Russia, and it's working. The problem is that what we're not seeing is greater European defense cooperation. And this is actually a real disappointment over the last year, that European countries aren't actually cooperating more when it comes to defense. We've seen countries that border Russia and border Ukraine dramatically increasing the amount of money they are investing in defense. We've seen Germany declare a Zeitenwende, a new era, and invest $100 billion more in its defense forces over the next 5 years. So we are seeing more spending, and we're seeing more will and recognition of the importance of having strong defense forces, but it's going to take a long time to actually coordinate and integrate its militaries. It hasn't really figured that out through NATO. So one of the biggest challenges for Europe going forward is that it's going to need to help with Ukraine's recovery. It's going to need to help continue to provide military assistance to Ukraine. It's going to need to invest in its own defense. But I think, and my hope, is that a path for Ukraine to join the EU is also a path for the EU to become stronger as well. And not just by having Ukraine join it, but through the process of letting Ukraine in, the EU will have to take a number of steps that will reform itself, will make it work better, will make it a stronger actor in Europe and a stronger player in the world. Now, these steps won't be as bold as perhaps they should be. They won't be as big as some want, but they will be significant. And I think we are going to see that not just over this next year, but over the coming decade.